Cabinet recently announced a proposal asking all Namibians to voluntarily donate 2% of their salaries as a once-off contribution to drought relief. To talk more about this, I'm joined in the studio by Mr. Mbeuta Ua-Ndjarakana, Executive Director in the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, madam.
Now, this is the first time that you have a situation where the government is calling on the public to voluntarily contribute towards especially a natural calamity. What brought this about? Obviously, we know it has a lot to do with drought, but share with us some background to this decision.
Voluntary 2% contribution by Namibian citizens. The adverse weather conditions due to climate change have affected rainfall patterns in Namibia during the 2018-2019 years. As a result, our country faces an unprecedented drought since independence. Thousands of Namibian citizens and their livestock face unsecured and gloomy future due to lack of basic foodstuff and grazing. With the view to mitigating the impact of the drought, the government of the Republic of Namibia has approved a budget of $572 million Namibian for the purchase of food, animal feed, and other necessities. In addition, His Excellency the President, Dr. Hage Geingob, declared the drought emergency in the country with the view to appeal to Namibians first, especially those who are in the position to assist, as well as to our friends in the SADC and international community. It is pleasing to state that our efforts have started to bear positive fruit.
You're reading a statement now, Mr. Ua-Ndjarakana.
Yes.
But if we can, you're reading a statement, if we can talk more about the reasons behind it. I know you are saying it's drought-related.
Yes. It's drought-related. It's an adverse drought situation that we have not seen since our independence, and therefore it calls for all-round rise by Namibians, not only to wait for handouts. We have received handouts in terms of support by friendly nations since almost time immemorial, since our independence struggle, and these nations continued to assist us through bilateral and multilateral support from using their own tax system to help us. As Namibians, there is this call. We are now a nation for 29 years. We are no longer adolescents. As a nation, we should be able, since we declared to determine our own destiny, it's a challenge to the determination of our own destiny that we stand up and help ourselves and help each other. And hence the appeal for a free will, patriotic 2% contribution of one's basic earning. It could be an earning from your crop production where you are fortunate to have mitigated the drought situation and have some harvest and are making some money to contribute to those that have been unable due to the adverse weather conditions that ushered in a drought situation. It's a simple humanitarian African appeal, internal appeal within the country to show, of course, that we are not just a handouts people. We are an independent nation. We have strengths and weaknesses, and where our strengths can bear us out, we also need to come out and demonstrate our zeal to face the challenges that we face as a nation, particularly helping those that are weak in our society to fend off the situation.
This is most probably your response, especially to public reaction to this request that was made. But I want us to quickly take some time and take a look at the comments made by our Facebook followers, and some even have questions. So let's take a look at that quickly. Our first comment is coming from Claudia, who is asking, what about the kind of reporting mechanisms in place to ensure that her contribution is accounted for? That question obviously coming a little bit later on. We're moving on to the next question from Shirley, and she says, the principle of corporate social responsibility only applies when the business is doing well. So why did the government donate millions to Mozambique if our coffers are empty? I think we have one last one. No, we don't have another one. So what do you make of some of those responses and quite frankly, a lot of questions?
Those are genuine questions, genuine concerns, genuine messages that we are receiving from our citizens. The reporting mechanisms, we have established a bank, a special account into which citizens will be making their contributions. It's separate, it's special, it will be managed by the public, government and the private sector, because we have called out the entire citizenry. And as the second question speaks about business, business is the private sector. Now, when they come forth, as they have already started coming forth, it is good to assure any goodwill Namibian who contributes his or her meager worked for 2%, that it is not going to go into an unreportable pit hole, that it is going to be taken care of. It is not only going to be managed by government, but it is going to be managed by people representing the Namibian spectrum. And then we have the auditing firms will be throwing out an invite for internal and external auditors, independent, so that at the end of it all, this account is audited by reputable auditing firms, and a report is given on what was the money spent on to the last dollar or the last cent, so that Namibians are assured. In fact, we are assuring Namibians that nothing will be left to chance. Their money will be accounted for. A report will be made public, and during the course of the efforts aimed at mitigating the adverse effects of the drought, as the account is being expanded, there will be periodic ongoing reports on how much have we received, say of last month, how much have we expended, on what commodities have we spent the money, and this report will be for public scrutiny.
There's also a lot of criticism, some of which is, have we been caught off guard by the current drought in the country? Why were we not reactionary earlier?
No,
What's your response to it?
In fact, I think Namibia has seen sporadic drought in some regions. It has been oncoming. It has just reached a level that is severe, hence the declaration of a state of drought emergency in the country by His Excellency. Citizens will remember that NBC and other media has been sharing the conditions of poor livestock conditions, the ongoing food banks, because the supply chain in terms of food sufficiency in the country has been affected by poor rainfall patterns. And it's something that has been coming forth, but it's like a wave that started and it is going up, and the higher it goes, it calls for more mitigating steps to be taken. And hence, it is also a time now for us as Namibians not to be recipients of government relief, but also to contribute in a special account to mitigate the level of the onslaught of the drought in the country. And
just finally, briefly, you were talking about, when you were reading the statement, you were talking about reaction so far. Can you brief us on how the reaction has been? Has the government received contributions?
Yes, the honourable members of the cabinet, members of parliament, have come forth to pledge their contributions, done the necessary actions. As I have indicated, the account is only opened as of yesterday, so it is kick-starting the infusion of dollars into this account. All the executive directors of the government of the Republic of Namibia, we have all signed up to make our 2% contribution, and we'll be engaging our staff members in the different offices, ministries and agencies to explain and to urge it's voluntary. There will be no following up on a staff member who feels he or she cannot contribute, maybe because she either doesn't receive adequate for her and his survival and family, or maybe his or her budget is overstretched. And even the 2%, since it's voluntary, if you say I'm going to give 1% or 1.5% to be able to make ends meet for myself, for the many challenges that I have, it's voluntary. As long as you can give something. If you cannot afford the 2%, we are not going. You cannot be a participant.
Just very briefly, where can Namibians get details if they wish to contribute? Because you've said the account only opened yesterday.
Yes, the account will be published, and Namibians can always reach out to regional governors' offices, regional councillors, mayors' offices to get clarity across the country.
All right. Thank you so much, Executive Director in the Ministry of ICT, Mbeuta Ua-Ndjarakana. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Namibians.